Hi, my name is Tony, and I run a little blog on the internet called Cardboard Wars at cardboardwars.wordpress.com. And there I try to recreate historical battles and war games and try to learn a little bit from history or a little bit about the history. Um, for this, I have been working on creating a vassal module for the game Storm over Scandinavia. Uh, and it's taken me a long time to work on, and I've had to, in the learning process, I've had to fix multiple errors, but I think that I finally got the errors out of the way, so I'm doing what I'm hoping is my final playtest. But writing the blog takes me a long period of time, having to play it, then having to write it up and edit it, which anybody who's actually read it knows that that's done pretty poorly. And then I had to find pictures and publish it. So I decided that I wanted to do something a little different and try to do a real-time game, at least one turn at a time, uh, and try not writing anything up. See if I can keep a better schedule with it. So I'm going to be recreating the Battle for Norway, and that started April 9th, 1940. And finally ended on June 10th, 1940, just shortly after the Battle for France began. Um, why did the Germans invade Norway? Well, the Germans would get their iron supply from a town, Yalavier, here, and I apologize if I butcher these names, which would be shipped down this rail line to Narvik. From there, it would be transported to Germany, and Norway was neutral, but they would let German transport ships stay within Norwegian waters, which infuriated the British. And the British wanted to mine the coastal waters of Norway to make the transports go out into the main international shipping lanes so that they could get at them, board them, sink them, whatever. And of course, the Norwegians said no, but it continued to allow the transports to move through uh, neutral waters or Norwegian territorial waters. The British also then received word that there was a German transport by the name of Altmark that was heading down the Norwegian coast that was carrying British prisoners of war. And they went to the Norwegian government and demanded that they stop the ship, board it, and look for any British prisoners, which the Norwegians did, but they may have just done a haphazard job. They stopped it 3 times on its journey, and all 3 times they reported that they were found no prisoners. So finally, about midway through February 1940, the Altmark was near Egersund when 2 British destroyers gave chase and ended up cornering the ship. Personnel from the destroyers forcefully boarded the Altmark, found the prisoners, and took them. And there was a brief fight on board, which left several people dead and seriously wounded. But the British liberated the prisoners, took them, let the ship go, and they took their people back to Britain. This infuriated Germany as a serious breach of international standards. But by this point, Hitler had already decided he was going to invade Germany. They had been planning it since late 1939 because he wanted to secure his iron ore supply. Britain also wanted to launch Operation Wilfred, and they asked the Norwegians if they could mine the Norwegian territorial waters, and Norway said no. So they were determined that they were going to do it anyway. They also were going to mine the fjord leading to Narvik to try to keep um, German transports out of the area. Operation Wilfred was scheduled to start on April 5th, but they met with some delays, and it didn't get started until April 8th. And as they were heading out, the Germans were already sailing up the coast, to which this gets reported back to the Royal Navy, and the Royal Navy, hearing of a large number of German ships moving up the coast that were not transports, assumed that the Germans were trying to break out into the Atlantic, even though they were wanting and expecting a German invasion of Norway so that they would have a reason to land troops in Norway. So as the Royal Navy is sailing along and suddenly veers away, it allows the Germans to make it all the way up the coast to Narvik, where they landed troops. Now, every time that I have played this game, I have never been able to get a victory as the Germans. And I've played it enough times that I finally determined that obviously my strategy is off. Trying to follow the German strategy in a war game is probably not the wisest of ideas. It's very difficult to recreate any operation that historically happened. So I decided that as I do what is hopefully my final playtest for this, that I'm going to alter my German strategy somewhat and give it another go and see if I can somehow achieve a victory. And if I do achieve a victory with the Germans based on this strategy, of course, then I'll start working on, okay, what I need to do as the Allies to counter it. That's kind of the whole point of gaming these things out. So my initial landings are going to ignore Oslo. It's going to pretty much ignore this area entirely. I am going to be sending 2 regiments to capture Narvik, 2 regiments to capture Trondheim, and 1 regiment to capture Bergen. And then I'm going to attempt an airdrop onto Sola Air Station outside of Stavanger. And if I can capture it, I have 2 battalions that I'm going to land behind it and supplies that are going to drop. But that's a big if. If I can get Stavanger cut off and dealt with quickly, I can sweep across the southern tip towards Oslo. But of course, I have a follow-up wave that will be landing in the Oslo area. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly I want to do with all my bombers here. But the primary reason why I'm putting so many transports here is to maximize my chances of an airdrop actually going off and capturing this airfield. So we're going to check for the Allied anti-shipping forces, which are abstracted in this game. And I'm going to check all 3 of these battalions, which are breakdowns of the regiments. And they will make it if I roll anything but a 6 for this first part of the turn. I'm going to start from this one and move my way across. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the 6th one, this one did not make it, but several of them have been very, very close. I am also going to take these 3 and This is, I believe, the 139th, the 138th Regiment of the 3rd Mountain Division, which has been stripped down to facilitate fast transport. The mobilization at Narvik has been captured, and unfortunately, because one battalion was sunk, this group is overstacked. So I got to figure out something to do about that. And then this goes into the sunken transit. It is a mountain battalion, so it is 1 point for the Allies for being sunk, 1 point for it being destroyed, or combat unit destroyed, and then another 2 for being a mountain unit. So right out of the gate, the Allies score 4 points. Now we just need to get them supplies. So here at Trondheim, we're going to make the same rolls, and the rolls appear over here in the action box or the chat box. You can leave little notes for your opponent, and it will tell you what is happening. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So all of them make it to Trondheim, which is usually the area that I usually suffer most of my losses. And this is the 307th of the 163rd. So 307 and 310 both make it. Those 2 in there as well. And then finally Bergen, where there is a regiment landing. Check for shipping. 1, 2, 3, and Bergen is always a problem child. It seems like every single time something gets sunk. But we got 2 battalions there. They're just really going to have to hold on, bite the bullet, and hold on. Oops, wrong chart. So, sunken transit. And that is another 2 points for the Allies. So, these units could move if they weren't already in a hex that has enemy units in them. Right now we've got 2 German battalions facing off against a Norwegian battalion and the 4th Brigade headquarters. And over in Trondheim, there's the 5th Brigade headquarters and another mountain battalion. Unfortunately, I don't like the way that the scans of the Norwegians turned out. Blue on red is not really a great combination that my scanner really enjoyed, and it made some of it quite blurry. But unfortunately, it was the best that I could get it. So now we have 1, 2, 3. Due to weather, the Germans get 1 roll per parachute company, and they have to roll a 1 or a 2 in order to jump because of fog. And they are flying at extended range. I've done the calculations, and I don't necessarily agree with the ranges given for the Ju-52s. Let me take a quick look here. Let's go from Kiel. The distance from Kiel to Stavanger is 27 or even 26 to, come up a heck short. I think that they can and did move further because there's so much that they did. For example, they did an airdrop here. They did wanted to do an airdrop at this airfield over here, which is protected by 7 Gladiator fighters, which is what the Norwegians had. But there were also Me-110s in the area that were acting as escort for the transports that were scheduled to make the airdrop. But the Me-110s don't even have enough range, even at extended range, to make it to that airfield from Germany. And even if they could, they are not allowed as escorts to fly at extended range. They would have to do a bombing run, and the rules are all convoluted. But historically, there were Me-110s in the area. They were there to protect the German transports, and they did that even though a couple of the transports were shot down by the Gladiators. But it was those Me-110s that so brazenly just landed on the airfield and took it over and allowed some of the other German transports to land. But you can't recreate that in this game because those aircraft just simply cannot make it that far. And I have to be careful because in my experience, the designer does not like having his ratings challenged. I mean, it used to be in the old games, these had a range of 25, and the Ju-52s can make it from Germany just 1 hex short of Sola, which was okay. They could do the airdrop, and then the parachute troops could advance and take over the airfield. But like I said, there's a lot of things that you just cannot recreate in this game. And while I do love this game series, some of it frustrates me, but I won't go as far as some people and call it a complete waste. It's got its good points, it's got its bad points. Nothing is perfect. So let's see if we can do, and there we go. The first one jumps, takes the airfield. Second one jumps. Third one doesn't. So the third one stays in his lane. These transports drop their supply. They don't need to land. These 6 immediately land, and 2 battalions are immediately at the airfield. So the Germans now have a foothold over near Stavanger. And these guys, we're going to fly them. We're going to, oh wait a second, not those guys. These guys land here, and these 6 land here. And these guys are going to go and land at Aalborg in Denmark. And those who follow the game will notice that I am not a stickler for the air mission is over, so you must wait for the air return phase before you can return to base. I'm not that kind of person. I'm just like, okay, the mission's over, go back. So here we've got some bombers, HE-115B float planes. Yes, they are bombers, but they're allowed to be used as transports, and they're going to become very, very important later. And I think that the Gladiator here is going to come out and meet them and say hello. But I think I'm going to rearrange these bombers in the Oslo area because I don't need really. So you need that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's really only 4 hexes that I need around Oslo. Let's quickly. All of these air units are flying at extended range, so their bombing strength is not going to be near as strong as it should be. But let's go ahead and we will do this air combat real quick. We'll pull these aside. And the Gladiator is going to be attacking the 115s, and it's going to attack at 1 to 2. And this version of this campaign, I don't really care for the air charts either. I think that it gives bombers and transports way too much power. So this is going to attack at 1 to 2. It's got 3 attack, and the 3 of these have 2 defense each, so that's 3 to 6. So it has a 50% chance of doing something, and these are going to be fighting at 1 to 1, 3 to 3, when they return fire. So the Gladiators fire, they immediately get a 2, and that's really going to screw up my plans. So 1 to 2, 1 kill, 1 abort. And they fire back and do nothing, which is about typical. I probably, let me look at something. Look at the hex that they're at. Let's fit width. Let's look at the range from Kiel to there. No, I couldn't have made it, unfortunately. So the initial invasion in this game is really kind of iffy and very dangerous, especially for transports, because there is no, let's see, 1 kill, there is no fighter cover. No fighter cover whatsoever. We have, let's see, air unit eliminated, and then the rest return. And these will be returning to the town of Aalborg because it is a port, so they can land there. And we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, damn it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 2 from there that can land here. And the rest of these will have to go back to Germany after they airdrop their supply down there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this will return to base here and maybe try to escape later. during the German turn. So these are going back to Germany. So far, everything is going okay. So these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so these have 2 bombing strength, and they're bombing rail lines. And they missed their target. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so there's 2 bombing the rail line. They missed their target. And 2 more bombing, and they actually hit the target. Let's see, extended range. No, I didn't put any of that in there. So we'll go by hit markers. We'll put a hit there. And whenever you bomb rail lines, during the next German turn, everything will magically repair itself because of the dwarven engineers that apparently live here that don't like their rail lines being bombed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this one gets 7 points, and 7 on the bombing table is a 4, 5, or 6. And bomb it, hit. Counter, hit. Now I've set it up so that the airfields do not stack, although they still show. And I set it up like this because I've played many a game where I grabbed and moved, and off goes the airfield with the stack. And if you really need to move it, you can just hold Alt and click on it, and then it can move. So, you know, and you can delete it or rotate it or do whatever you do, things like that with it, but that way it won't be grabbed. And a lot of these, like the mobilization centers, won't be moved either. So Copenhagen can take 18 of these. So we're going to, here's 6 actually. Here's 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and then we will drag them down here to maybe drag them down here to Copenhagen, and they can now bathe. They're a little closer to Norway. These, on the other hand, will have to go all the way back to Germany. So I've got to grab these two airfields at the very least in order to be able to get more aircraft, fighters, and other aircraft into the mainland. So now what we do, now we're going to check to see if the Norwegians can retreat. There's no retreat at Narvik because nobody was holding the port. This unit here, this is a town over here, which the battalion barracks actually was located, and that's where they were. There were no defenses at Narvik, although the Royal Navy trapped 10 destroyers here and sunk all of them over the course of 3 days. So we have two Norwegian units here. So as we go through on a roll of a 1 or a 2, these units can either stand and fight or they can retreat. So the headquarters has to retreat. The mountain battalion, let's see, 12 to 2, 6 to 1, and woods, which is -1, so 5 to 1. They're going to retreat along with that because they're outnumbered so badly. So the Germans end up capturing this truck here because the Germans were forced out, or the Norwegians were forced to retreat. I'm going to put everything here aside momentarily. Move that, flip that, move that back, put these back here. So the Germans have now captured Trondheim. Now the same goes for here. The 4th Brigade headquarters, they have to retreat. The Mountain Battalion also has to retreat. Germans capture the city and the trucks. And now they have to get some supply. Now the follow-up wave, all the area of Oslo, sorry, I had a minor brain fart. The area around Oslo is going to be landed, and primarily the entire 196th Infantry Division, which was the historical plan. This was the follow-up wave. I didn't have enough, so I also threw in one of the 163rd regiments. But we're going to break this down. 196. I'm going to break this down here. That one's already broken down. This is 360. Oh, that's it. $345, 340, the 233rd, and then the 324th is here. So let's count this up. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we're going to spread these out to make it easier. So the shipping rules become normal on this turn depending upon where the port is located. And honestly, it is safest to try to ship to the Oslo area and then go wherever it is that you need to go. I mean, you can occasionally try shipping something to Stavanger or Kristiansand is pretty safe, but once you start getting around Bergen, you're starting to get into a 50-50 chance. All the way up to Narvik, you only have a 33% chance of making it through. So this, you at least have like a 16.5% chance. So these are sunk on a roll of a 6. So we will 1, 2, 3, 4. That one. Okay, continuing from here. 3. That one didn't make it. Oh, that's artillery. Well, that sucks. Then get from there. 3 through 3, and then from here 5. So we have 2 more that did not make it. So we're going to land these 2 battalions there at Drammen. And let's see, Moss, Horton. I could even theoretically land over here at Arendelle, which I may need to. So we'll put actually, you know what? I'm going to put these 2 here. But these 2 are in danger because they have no supply because it was shot down while trying to get it there. Tonsberg, and Larvik. And we'll give them an artillery unit, and we'll give them an artillery unit. Turn VP, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 more points. 2, 3. 4. So the Allies are now at 4 victory or 10 victory points. Sunken transit. And this here, this is my next stage coming when they're coming with supply. Now these units cannot move at this point. Is there Horton? Well, that's okay. I don't think anybody's going to be able to get there. We'll see though, because I am always able to figure out something that I didn't see. So the Germans are now in Norway. They're in the Oslo area. They are at Sola. They are at Bergen, Trondheim, and Narvik. So they've got 3 of the 5 major ports. But now it's the Norwegians' chance to respond. So the Royal Navy responds quickly, and it is April 9th to 11th, the first 3 days of the battle. And these two here are representative of battleships, but in this game they're used as interdiction squadrons. And if push comes to shove, I've used them as AA counters, just to try to protect Allied supply bases, because as the German player, once one goes up, I have a tendency to slam into it. So the Allied player would receive an additional 5 victory points if they were to take one of these interdiction markers and place it in Narvik. The Warspite was the ship that was up there, along with several destroyers that interdicted the port. That's where they sunk the 10 German destroyers. But the cost to that 5 victory points is that the Germans would receive a regiment of stranded sailors, which would make Narvik, it would give them 3 more points of defense, or at least put more German troops in the area. And they've already lost a battalion, so they're a little weak, and I don't want to make them any stronger. So we're going to forego that, and we're going to put the Warspite here at Stavanger. And I could put one here at Kristiansand, but that would put it well within bomber range. But I do have all this AA that I have no use for at the moment. So for this particular time, we're just going to interdict the port of Kristiansand so that the Germans can't invade. The Norwegians have also mobilized some artillery here just outside of Oslo. And that's really the only forces that they got this turn down south. Most of their mobilization came up here to the north. Just south of Moshan here. And up here at Alta. By the way, this is a portion of the map from Total War, because I thought it fit a bit better than the Fire in the East map did. But Total War is something that I'm not even going to get into. They receive a couple of battalions at Tromsø here. And right now, that's it. They don't get a lot. But they will try to build over time. And as the German player, I'm going to try and keep their forces as weak as I possibly can. So in their movement phase, I really don't think that there's much threat of an air landing here at Bardufoss Airfield. So we will just go ahead and just move them on down the road to try and block the Germans at Narvik, or at least put in some sort of threat there. I'm going to, even though I don't need to, I'm going to put them into the 6th Infantry Brigade holding box. That is one thing that is nice about doing this on a computer, is I don't have to worry about knocking stacks over or stacks falling over. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And the rest of these guys is going to take forever. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, because it goes through that hex. So the Norwegians are marching down from the far north to try to protect Bardufoss. Now this one we're going to move to Moshan so that the next turn they can lay airfields, ice airfields, so that maybe some British air units might be able to get up to oh, up to Bardufoss. So these two, we're going to make protecting the airfield the priority. And for stacking, we're going to, oops, over here. We're going to put these in with the 5th Brigade. Now when the airfield is protected, it's true, Trondheim is not surrounded and cut off, but what can you do? These troops are just going to stay there and block Bergen, and they're going to hold. So the air units, let me take a look at this. How many fit to width? Let's look at the extended range. And the Gladiator can make it to Trondheim. So get the extended range, and that can make it to Trondheim, or at least the airfield. So we zoom back in. We can grab both of them. We can send them to the airfield so that they are out of harm's way. I played many a game where a situation like this is tough because you kind of want to hold on to the mobilization center that's there, but if you stay there too long, you end up getting trapped. So I'm going to take this, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, because I can't make it across that river, so I'm going to have to try and get out this way. And this is where the buildup in Oslo begins, and we'll put those into, what is that, the first or the second? That is the second. Second. And we're not going to put the King's Guards into the headquarters because we want them to be able to retreat if they need to. 3rd Brigade headquarters is just going to stand pat for now. No. 1, 2, 3. Now over to there and move. So forces are moving in to try to hold out and protect Oslo for as long as possible. So far the Norwegians have managed to cut this line as a way through, although they pretty much abandoned this area. But the Germans have a whole lot of room to roam here after this first turn. I'm not exactly sure, the 2 units here, I'm not exactly sure what they could have done as far as, I mean, I suppose that they could have blocked the rail lines and then started forming a defensive line here to prevent them from getting to Trondheim. But it's a toss-up as to whether you want to keep Trondheim isolated or make Oslo as difficult to take as possible. You know, the British, I almost forgot about them. They have received several air units at Hatston Field, and it's okay. Everybody forgets about the. Okay, that was rude. I'm not even going to say that. I take that back. That was a rude thing to say. So we're looking for hex 2323. This is hex 25. So 2323 is right there, that island. So I believe that there are 3 of these. Let's go again, fit width. Let's look at extended range. Oh no. Oh, there we go. It just took it a little bit. Okay, so they can easily make it to Trondheim. And it takes, I have an older computer, so sometimes it takes a few minutes for it to render this and calculate it out. And since this has a longer range, it should be able to easily make it as, yep, it can easily make it as well. So we're going to close that. We're going to zoom in because somebody shut them all off. So the question is, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to send 2 skuas and the heavy fighter over. I'm going to put that back at Hatston Field. Now for Bomber Command, there's only 2 bombers, and there's really not a lot of strategical bombing that can be done in the context of the game. But you need to play to the strengths of the units that you have. So this hex here is 14 hexes to London. From there it is, so that's a total of 33 hexes. So Bomber Command will definitely be flying at extended range because we're at 28 and 29, so it's just slightly out of range. But they're flying at extended range. Their strategic bombing strength is reduced to 1/3, which is 2 each. And we're going to take 2 shots at the airbase. 2 hits will knock it out of commission. It's an iffy thing, but there's no fighters there. And they miss. But that's okay. They've let the Germans know that they're there. they're all night bombers. So as soon as fighters start appearing, they're going to be doing their thing at night. But that is it for turn one. The April 11th has now come. It is dawning on April 12th. And we will see what happens from there.